Welcome back to our final micro lecture for this module. Today we're going to be discussing drug use in the workplace, drug testing, welfare programs, and how this influences drug treatment programs and policies. In the U.S., alcohol and drug use and their related problems cost employers and taxpayers billions of dollars per year. The National Safety Council estimates that every 1 in 12 employees is dealing with a substance abuse issue. Furthermore, nearly 70% of all adults with an alcohol or illicit drug use disorder are currently employed. Nearly 13.6 million workers have current alcohol or illicit drug use disorders, while a nearly equal number report working on sobriety or are in an active recovery process. In a National Safety Council survey, 86% of employers were concerned that prescription opioid use was having a negative effect on their workplace, and 74% were concerned about heroin and fentanyl having a negative impact on their workplace. Additionally, the same research reports that in terms of health care costs for employees who have a substance use disorder, they are almost double the cost of an average employee with no substance abuse disorder. The annual cost of untreated substance abuse disorders ranges from an average of $8,255 to $14,000 per employee, depending on their industry and their role. Breaking down drug use based on the type of industry you work in, you will see more illicit drugs being reported in blue-collar jobs like construction or pink-collar jobs like those that are related to hospitality. In 2022, the food service industry reported the highest levels of illicit drug use among employees. Art, entertainment, and recreation employees were next, followed by those in management, information services, and finally construction to round out the top 5. It's not exactly shocking that the arts and entertainment is in the top 3. What do we know about the longevity of these 3 types of industries? These are often not careers. They're jobs, and there are a high level of turnover present. Areas like construction often don't ask many questions of their workers. So these individuals with criminal records might have an easier time finding employment in construction than they would in the other categories I mentioned. In contrast, public administration, education services, mining, healthcare, and social assistance, agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting were all ranked top 5 industries that have the lowest rates of illicit drug use over the last year. Fun fact, however, even though the mining industry was in the bottom 5 for illicit drug use, it is the number 1 ranked industry for reported alcohol abuse among its employees. For many positions, employers choose to drug test their employees as a way to limit both liability and drug use among their employees. Some people try to toe the edge of being able to use and still test clean for their UA. It's a risk and a game of math, but typically the active drug can be cycled out of your system in a number of days. But this actually depends on a few different factors: your height, weight, how much you took, the quality of the drug you used, and how often you use it. Amphetamines, cocaine, and many opioids can be detected in your system for roughly 24 to 72 hours after your last use. THC, the psychoactive component of marijuana, is actually detectable for up to 90 days in your hair, anywhere from 1 day to a month or longer in your urine, depending on how often the individual uses it, up to 24 hours in saliva, and up to 12 hours in your blood. There are products that you can try and take to detox your body faster than normal. They don't always work, however. You can also try to dilute your urine by drinking a lot of water, but that actually shows up in the test, and they'll make you do it again if they don't automatically fail you for it. But your hair contains traces of the drug a lot longer than can be detected through your urine. For those of you who might remember back to 2008, Britney Spears drastically shaved her head during a mental health crisis. Many people were actually speculating that she shaved her head because she was going through her divorce and the custody hearings with her ex-husband, who allegedly accused her of drug use. So the theory suggests that she shaved her head to get rid of the ability to drug test her. Drug testing is almost instantaneous anymore. There are different types of UA kits, but some of the more expensive ones can treat for a variety of different items. But on your screen, you can see a variety of different drugs that can be detected through a UA. Most common UA drug tests consist of a 9-drug panel, including 6 acetylmorphine, amphetamines or methamphetamines, barbiturates, benzodiazepine, cocaine, THC, MDMA, which is ecstasy or Molly, and different types of opiates, including hydrocodone, hydromorphine, codeine, and morphine itself. In addition to drug testing in the workplace, several states have actually adopted policies that require the drug testing of welfare recipients as well. One of the more recent arguments is that welfare recipients should be drug tested before they receive their benefits. You've heard it before. If salaried workers are subjected to drug tests, so should those who receive the benefits. Florida was an initial test case in which the state required that welfare recipients be drug tested. Florida mandated that every single recipient would be tested before they could receive their TANF benefits. There was no reasonable suspicion needed. Everyone was subjected to testing. This law went into effect in 2011, and the state began to test its residents. From July through October 2011, the 4 months during which the testing took place in Florida before a federal injunction shut it down, during that time period, 2.6% of the state's applicants for cash assistance, or only 108 people out of 4,086, actually failed the drug test, according to figures from the state obtained by the group. The most common reason was for marijuana use. The Florida law also required that applicants who passed the test be reimbursed for the cost of an average of $30. The cost to the state was roughly $118,000 in reimbursement, since nearly everyone passed. This is actually costing more than what it would have cost to pay in benefits to the people who failed their test. The Florida program was dropped due to constitutionality issues due to probable cause related to the testing. There was no reason to suspect that this was a widespread drug use issue among welfare recipients. The courts actually stepped in and said, no dice on this one. Other states have implemented similar versions of the Florida law based on the federal recommendation. These states test only individuals when there is a reasonable suspicion that the recipient must be a substance user. However, for the most part, the Florida results are consistent everywhere. The consensus among researchers and scholars suggests that it costs considerably more to drug test those individuals compared to the amount of benefits they save from those who tested positive. Controversial issues such as drug testing welfare recipients is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we will focus on this semester. Throughout the semester, we will focus on individual drugs and the pharmacological effects of those substances. In contrast, we will also focus heavily on the regulation of these substances and the federal policies that surround this regulation. As this is a criminal justice-driven course, we want to spend time focusing on the war on drugs and some of the reforms that might need to take place to correct the unintended consequences of those efforts. Meet me back here next time for the next module, where we're going to spend some time discussing how and why drugs work within our systems and how we are individually affected by those substances.